let's continue with our next question. And our next question comes from KG. And that's regarding urban expansion. Now, before I'm going to continue with the questions, just look at the diagram that's been provided for us. Urban expansion over there, figure 4.3. A probably represents the CBD, Central Business District. The arrows in all the different directions provides us with the main roads. That's the reason I'm 100% certain that A is going to be the CBD. Because what do we know about the CBD? What's the one main characteristic about the CBD? That it's usually the point that's got the most accessible roads. And as you can see, all the roads lead to the CBD. And then we got B, that's mentioned as an urban area. Now, these urban areas might be low income, middle income, high income residential areas, usually on the outskirts of the CBD. And as you can see, fastest growth happens along the main roads because it's more accessible than anything else. But let's just quickly have a look at the questions that's being asked. Name 2 characteristics of the CBD. Now we can identify the CBD as A, most accessible. And another characteristic, we can say highest land value. Because instead of the buildings, properties moving, expanding, what's happening with the building style? It's moving up because of the highest land value. It's more expensive. And it's usually the tallest buildings as well. If we look at our next question, give a reason why the fastest growth is taking place along the main road. Now, simple reason, why does the fastest growth take place next to the main road? Because it gives people more access. That's the reason why. It makes it so much easier for people to move from their house to go to work on a daily basis. Products as well. We're looking at light industries that we usually find on the outskirts of the CBD to get their product from the manufacturer to the consumer. So it makes it much easier to transport their goods. So that will be the answer for question 4.3.2. 4.3.3, I want to touch with this. Before I'm going to look at the question, I need to explain 2 definitions to you, concepts to you, centrifugal and centripetal. I've mentioned that on a previous slide. Before I'm going to look at the questions, just quickly have a look at these concepts. The first one is centripetal. So we need to differentiate between centripetal and centrifugal forces. Now, what's the difference between the two? Centripetal forces is what attracts people to the CBD. Why do people rather want to do business in the CBD than on the outskirts or between the urban areas? Now, the reasons for that is because so the first question I can ask myself, what draw the customer to the CBD? And why, the next question we need to ask ourselves, why do businesses want to stay in the CBD? So if we look at the concept, centripetal forces, what draw the customers to the CBD and why do businesses want to stay in the CBD? And the answers for that is basically because the accessibility. It's easy to get to them because all major transport routes lead to the CBD. Another reason, because it's comfort, it's easier, and it's functional prestige. It's much easier, and the concept around it is much easier. Now, if we go back to our question, they ask us, discuss two centrifugal forces that drive economic activities from the CBD towards the main roads. So why do people want to move away from A and rather go to areas that I've circled on the diagram? Now, first of all, let's just quickly go and have a look at the concept of centrifugal. Okay, centrifugal, very simple. How can you remind yourself what does this mean? Refugee. Refugee, what does it mean? Moving away. Okay, centrifugal, if we quickly have a look at it. So we can ask ourselves the question, what does it mean? What pushes businesses away from the CBD? Okay, and we have quite a number of factors that plays a massive role into that. What pushes businesses away from the CBD? Now, put yourself in the business owner's shoes. Let's assume you had a business in Joburg CBD. Why don't you want to have a shop in the CBD? You'd rather go and have a shop in residential areas on the outskirts of urban areas, or even in OBDs, outgoing business districts. What's the reason for that? First of all, the easiest one is the crime. Okay, unfortunately, crime is quite high in CBD areas of South Africa. Another reason that we can say, because we looked at it, what's the characteristic of the CBD? Very expensive land values. So it might be because of high rent. And with high rent, high taxes that needs to be paid. Now, if you're a business owner, and keep in mind what's going to happen with the rent, it comes from your profit margin. So it means if you're paying higher rent than an area on the surrounding areas, for instance, where B is situated, if you can pay less rent, it means you can make more profit on the end of the day comparison to A. And it means you have to pay less taxes. We can also mention pollution. Now keep in mind, when we look at CBD areas, it's quite congested. Traffic. So there's more cars, so means more carbon dioxide is being released. And if you look at it, it's definitely more pollution because there's less open water surfaces, there's less vegetation such as parks and trees. So pollution might be a factor. So just let's assume you're a fruit and veg dealer. Now, you might want to move your business, you want to decentralize your business, and these centrifugal forces pushes you away from the CBD because of the amount of pollution that you experience in the CBD. So pollution might be a massive concern for yourself. And another reason, a lack of parking, like I've mentioned. And we can, in the same line, we can say lack of premises. All of them are occupied. So a massive concern that we experience in the CBD, and congestion, we already touched sides of it. So coming back to my question, it says, discuss two centrifugal forces that drive economic activities away from the CBD towards the main roads. So I've mentioned it. Why do people want to go away from the CBD? It might be because of crime. It might be because of a very expensive rent and taxes that needs to be paid. It's the amount of pollution. It's the congestion that's being experienced. Now, just imagine you in the clothing industry. People struggle to get to your shop because they're stuck in traffic. So that's a major concern. So rather move your business to residential areas where the actual people live. So you're going to save the people, your consumers, also time to buy your product. If we quickly have a look at the next question, 4.3.4, what is the area of an old buildings around the CBD referred to? The transition zone. So we have touched sides of that in the previous lesson. What is the transition zone? It's the zone of decay. Okay. Now, the reason why it's a zone of decay or mixed, a zone of transition is because it's got mixed functions. I mean, when I talk about mixed functions, there's light industries, for instance, bakeries or textile businesses. There's commercial properties, for instance, restaurants. And lastly, there's residential people living over there. And it's usually known as the zone of decay. Why? Because of the decayed buildings. Unfortunately, our time is out. I would love to continue. KG, lovely question. I will definitely continue with this question next week so we can finalize this question. Grade 12s, once again, thank you very much for these questions. It's excellent questions and it's definitely going to help you with your preparation for your final exam.